I had the Jefferson Cipher will. So it was created by Thomas Jefferson, and he was George Washington's secretary during the Revolutionary War, and he also became the Minister of France, and during that time he relied on messages to carry sensitive documents. So some historical background. So coding was very essential, especially when sending documents from France to the Americas. Some of those documents were opened by other people, and it was just really important to code the letters so they wouldn't be read by people that weren't supposed to read them. So Jefferson created the will cipher. So it's a cylinder with a rod through it, and it had 36 cylindrical wooden pieces, and they were threaded on an iron spindle. And it's that right there, that's the iron spindle. So the letters of the alphabet were inscribed on the edge of each of the circles. So those are the circles right there. And if you look really close, you can see the letters. So the letters are on each of those circles. And they were inscribed at random on each will. So turning the wills, the words could be unscrambled and scrambled. So I found a YouTube video on how the cipher works. I can't explain it as well as this video can explain it. This picture kind of helps to explain it. So it shows this line right there, and it shows a code. So what happens is you move the cylinders, the circles, until you start to find sentences that make sense. And if I understand it right, the sender or coder of the code has a paper that tells him the code, and he sends that code to the person so they can decode the cylinder. And something interesting that I also found was that you can find a replica of the cipher at the National History Museum, and there's also a lot of YouTube videos on how to make the Jefferson Cipher. So I'll just go to the video to explain it better.
When we talk about the United States, people used cryptology in the 19th century. So the way the device worked is there were a series of leather discs. Their sequence would be prearranged. Both the sender and the receiver would know. You would put a bar across the top, and you would line up the plain text on one side of the bar, and you would write the cipher text on the other. You would put that in an envelope or a message, and you would send that off either with a courier or maybe even a ship across the Atlantic. The good news is, if it was picked up by pirates or bandits, or it fell into the hands of somebody that shouldn't have it, if they didn't have a device with the discs arranged in the proper sequence, they would not be able to understand what the message said. And again, because we're working with the wonderful C-SPAN network today, this is a model of the device, and you can see the bar, and we have the message, welcome C-SPAN to the museum. Now the way this would work, of course, is this is the plain text, and you could either choose any one of these lines, and you could write the cipher text. Again, if the individual at the other end knew which line you were going to use, you could protect the message. And again, if it fell into the hands of somebody that shouldn't have it, if they don't have one of these, and they don't know the prearrangement of the discs, they're not going to be able to find out what the message says.
Okay. So, the mystery of the Jefferson Cipher will. So, a lot of people are unsure if Jefferson actually used the will. The will had English and French, so they assumed that Jefferson used it while he was in France. They're also pretty sure that he would have abandoned the idea after 1802. And something interesting that I found is they found the cipher will in an antique store, and I'm not sure if it was the cipher will or papers, but they found evidence of the cipher will in an antique store next to Jefferson's home. So, during World War II, the cipher wheel was reinvented. It was named the M49, and it was used by the Army and other military sources from 1922 to the beginning of World War II. And so, something interesting that I also found was that after they started using it for World War II, they found Jefferson's designs under some of his papers. So I thought that was interesting. And here are all of my sources. And I think that's all I have to say about the Jefferson Cipher will. So, yep.